Hi, everybody. We're going to get started. My name is Liz Pena. I'm a marketing specialist at Verity IT. Did you know that 90% of breaches are caused by human error? That alone is what leads us to today's webinar, the importance of implementing a security awareness training program for your business. We're joined today by Katie Wallace with ID Agent. As a subject matter expert on cybersecurity, Katie thrives on helping partners think outside of the box when it comes to security and compliance. With a passion for helping people, her goal is to align her partner's vision with the software and functionality of service capabilities. She has successfully served a range of organizations, including solopreneurs, SMBs, and larger organizations. Thanks for joining us, Katie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us here today. We're really excited to cover this subject as it's something important that every organization needs to consider, especially as the phishing environment has changed drastically over the past year, as there's been drastic changes to our work life. You know, phishers and hackers have attempted to take advantage of the different working environments and new tools being used from work from home in order to get to their new scams. 2020 saw a record increase in phishing sites. 2.11 million phishing sites were detected by Google in 2020 alone, and that's a 25% increase over 2019. In the last few years, humans have become highly dependent on technology. People use technology to make work so much easier for them. The use of the internet and technology sure has a lot of benefits, but there are a few drawbacks that come with it. One of those drawbacks of using the internet is phishing. Phishing is a type of cyber attack that tricks a human into revealing personal and sensitive information or deploys malicious software into the victim's computer to steal personal data files. With the increase in demand for the internet, phishing has also increased. In the last 12 months, cyber criminals have launched thousands of new phishing pages every hour to harvest personal and business information, steal corporate data, and commit credit card fraud with no signs of slowing down. Microsoft, as a fun fact, remains the #1 spoof brand in phishing attacks. And what we're looking at here is actually a screenshot from one of those phishing attacks going around related to Microsoft. In one popular Office 365 email, this hacker is sending what looks like a legitimate Microsoft email, asking the victim to open up a OneDrive or a SharePoint file. Then, unfortunately, once an end user clicks on a link within this email, they're redirected to a fake Office 365 login page where their credentials are then harvested and used to commit fraud. Coronavirus-related phishing scams are also one thing that are on the rise from 2020, and we still expect to see an increase here in 2021 as the year goes on. It was found that users were 3 times more likely to click on a COVID-19 related phishing email. There have been reports of a coronavirus vaccine related phishing email going around as well that is really plaguing a lot of users. Remote work related phishing emails are on the rise as well, with hackers exploiting new remote measures to confuse employees who have made it the move to working from home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. One method that phishing scammers are exploiting is the need for virtual meetups, specifically Zoom and Google-related calendar invites. Again, phishing is a particularly effective method for these cyber criminals to gain our information, as they are easy to make look realistic. So what we're going to cover today are some ways that we can start to avoid these phishing emails so we don't fall victim at the end of every day. And one way to do that is to regularly train your employees. Regularly training your employees is a critical component of compliance and security in your organization. The risk of an employee not understanding the potential security threat that they face, it's not great. Employees are your frontline target, and with just one click, again, opening an email could lead to a huge security breach for that organization at the end of the day. This is why there are many security frameworks and regulations in place related to compliance, like SOC 2, PCI, and HIPAA. A lot of these different compliance regulations, they actually require some sort of security and awareness training as part of the overall requirement, again, to ensure that end users have the right information and they know what to avoid when they start to receive these fraudulent emails. Your employees are your first line defense against cyber attacks. The strength of your security awareness program depends on every employee at your organization. As part of your organizational goals and plans for 2021, you need to prioritize building a cyber secure and awareness culture. Again, just because we're becoming a more digital, world, the increased reliance on technology, we want to ensure that everybody in our organization are aligning from that perspective. And again, they understand what to avoid and what to do when it comes to receiving fraudulent emails. In addition, there must be an understanding that effective security and awareness isn't made up of just random training sessions or a single quarterly email that goes out about phishing. What we want to do is improve knowledge, skills, and build confidence to recognize these phishing attacks amongst employees. We want you to be aware of those CEO fraud emails. I don't know if anybody has received one of those in the past. It looks like it's coming from your boss. He's asking you to go out and buy X amount of dollars worth of gift cards. And at the end of the day, it's not your boss. It's a cyber criminal posing to get that information. And in all honesty, it's easy to be tricked by this sort of social engineering. What we want to do is to help you with that cyber secure mindset. We've put together, some critical security and awareness training ideas into this program, and they're all meant to help keep your organization aware, secure, and protected at the end of the day. Again, all of your employees should have a basic understanding of security topics, but also understand how to apply critical thinking and apply their knowledge within your organization. Delivering these cybersecurity and awareness training topics should be prioritized to identify some of the biggest threats that we face today. The following security and awareness training topics should definitely be covered in your cybersecurity awareness training program. Again, each security topic should discuss an overview of the concept, why it's important, and the risks that it faces to your organization. And some of these topics could be weak passwords, improving data sharing, sharing devices, falling for phishing emails, connecting to unsecure networks. If you're one of those folks that are out on the road, if you're in an airport, if you're using their Wi-Fi, what should we be clicking on? Maybe some things that we should avoid, again, just because we don't know who's all connecting to those different networks. And another great training topic is downloading malicious attachments. You're on the internet or you receive an email, there's something that says click to download. How do we know that that's a safe link to click on? How do we know that we're not clicking on a link that contains some sort of malicious code or a virus that could be a detriment to our organization? And we look at all of these different trainings as a way to help your employees feel prepared at the end of the day. Because again, you're increasing their skills, you're increasing their knowledge, which in all honesty helps build their confidence, especially as we hear more and more about data breaches, malware, or malicious attacks happening in the mainstream media. And even some of our local news channels have been covering these sorts of cyber attacks in their overall coverage. One thing I wanted to share, this is a side-by-side comparison of the Facebook landing page. One of these is the real Facebook page, and one of these is a fraudulent website that a cyber criminal has set up as a way to phish folks. Now, as you can see, there's not a ton of difference between these two landing pages. The one on the left is actually the fraudulent site. And in all honesty, these fraudsters have gotten really great at creating these websites. All of these links would be working. It's basically a mirrored image of what you would see on the actual Facebook URL. So again, we want to make sure that your employees feel confident and they know how to spot some of these fraudulent websites before they go ahead and share their information. According to a recent study, 69% of people have said they felt stressed by the data breach news that we were just running through. Keeping employees abreast of the latest threat intelligence and attack methods will help mitigate the anxiety caused by cybersecurity and the uncertainty that it brings along at the end of the day. Technology alone doesn't provide your organization with perfect protection from cyber attacks. So again, security comes in layers. You can have multiple layers of security in place, like the best firewall. You can have other things in place, but if your employee is still clicking on a link within a phishing email or sharing their credentials on a bad website, your organization is going to be at risk at the end of the day. The damages that then follow a cyber-related incident can be expensive and detrimental for your organization overall. Thus, the benefits of investing in a cybersecurity awareness training outweighs the cost of a leak or a data breach. Security awareness training turns users into cyber heroes who will then successfully spot and avoid falling victim to these different cyber threats that we face every day. It also cultivates a security mindset and culture that prioritizes the protection of your organization's data. And at the end of the day, it prioritizes your customers because, again, we want to protect as many folks as we can. To create a culture of cybersecurity in your workplace, training employees about safe online computing, strong passwords, social engineering, and phishing, and other essential topics is really molding your organization into that frontline defense of security experts that your organization does need. And it's ensuring the confidence that your business is going to stay secure at the end of the day. Now, how does cybersecurity and awareness training work? Well, there's a couple key components to the solution itself. Our preventative solution has 3 components to it: interactive security training, simulated phishing campaigns, and reporting. All of these features are included to provide the very best experience as possible. Simulated phishing emails, emulating real phishing messages, are sent to end users, and we do this to gauge their reaction. It's not meant to put anybody in the spotlight, but again, all of these attacks that we face are becoming more and more, realistic looking with the social engineering. So we want to see how those folks on your team are engaging with real phishing emails. From there, we're tracking statistics like open rates and, how many folks are actually giving up their credentials within these emails. And we use that just to see how vulnerable an organization's workforce is. From there, we would deploy training campaigns. And these training campaigns are across different topics, good password practices, how to remain secure at an organization, and training on insider threats and different threats that we face, again, when using the internet. And with the trainings, you'll go through a video and a test afterwards, again, just to make sure that everybody at the organization is primed on those topics and they know exactly what to look out for when it comes down to the real deal. Now, we can provide the reports for all of these activities, again, especially for those companies that do work in heavily regulated verticals. If you need to have proof that your employees have gone through those trainings, we absolutely can provide that. And in all honesty, if your company carries a cyber insurance policy, some of those policies, they want to see that you're taking that necessary due care, and cybersecurity awareness training is one of those things that they also look out for. Again, with the simulated phishing, these are to see the vulnerabilities. We would launch a series of simulated phishing campaigns, and these come in the form of emails that do look convincingly real, so we can see which employees are falling for the bait. We do typically start with phishing emails because it's important to see what's happening, what's going on with the organization. That way we can tailor some of the training to that company. And then, of course, when it comes to the actual training themselves, there's a library of videos and lessons that have been developed to train employees. Topics include password management, email phishing, proper email connection protocols, and the list goes on. Most any areas of weakness that you can think of, there's a training for it. And as we stated before, we certainly understand the importance of training that's engaging and interactive. We try to utilize videos and quizzes rather than mundane kind of pen and paper methods to keep your employees paying attention, retain that information, and truly enjoying the process. Because again, I think it's about creating that cybersecurity culture around your training and awareness to make sure everybody at that company feels involved and they're getting the overall training. And we think that training should happen over a long period of time. It's the best way to help those employees to succeed. So this isn't really a one and done service. We could run trainings on an ongoing basis, again, just to ensure that employees are feeling confident, and as these risks evolve, that they're getting the most updated information that they possibly can. Now, I know I ran through a lot about what's included in a security and awareness training program, why it's important for an organization to have this as part of their overall structure. But a couple things that I did want to talk about just from an educational perspective. Cybersecurity awareness, it does play a critical role in helping minimize serious cybersecurity threats that are posed to end users by phishing attacks and social engineering. With that, a couple things to help you overall avoid phishing emails. The CDC recommends that you take at least 20 seconds to wash your hands to avoid falling victim to germs. We recommend that you take at least 20 seconds to review any sort of suspicious emails or even text messages that you may be receiving. Just with the rise, if you do receive emails from a source that you don't always receive emails from, it's better to play the overly cautious card than to just go in and start to do some investigational digging. Phishing emails typically use generic salutations such as "Dear valued member," "Dear account holder," or "Dear customer." If it is a customer or a company that you deal with and they require information about your account, they're likely going to call you by your name, and they're probably going to direct you to contact them via the phone versus sending something sensitive via email. Again, legitimate companies do not request sensitive information via email. Chances are, if you receive an unsolicited email from an institution that's providing a link or an attachment, it's likely a scam. And then when you click on that link or the attachment, you run the risk of having a virus installed on your PC. One very big thing to look for is email domains. Legitimate companies who are requiring information from you, they won't be using Gmail accounts, Yahoo accounts, or free accounts. So definitely take a look at that domain. Double check the email address a few times if you need to, again, just to ensure that it's a legitimate messages. And then unsolicited emails that contain attachments. This is big. Typically authentic institutions don't randomly send you email with attachments, but direct you to some sort of portal where you would go and download that information on their own website. So definitely one big thing is with the PDFs, don't click to open. Again, that could be a malicious virus that's going to be installed on your computer. Potentially it's going to be an Adobe file. They're going to ask you to sign in. That could be a cyber criminal trying to, get to your login credentials or something along those lines. And the other big thing, just make sure you're looking for misspellings, incorrect grammar, odd phrasing, a lot of sensitivity. If somebody's demanding you've won or click here or you need to do something quickly, those are all typically indicators of a cyber criminal just trying to get through to your information in a fast manner. And then again, with that information, they're going to go out, commit their own fraud, sell it on the dark web, or again, continue to plague your organization with phishing emails. But with all that being said, I know I want to flip things back over to Liz and have her take it from here.
Thanks so much, Katie, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Katie, if you have a few minutes, we did have 2 questions come in that I'd like you to address if you could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the first one that came in is, what do I do if I have a security awareness training program, but the employee fails and clicks on the simulated email?
That's a great question. With that case, I would still recommend maybe setting up an extra training for that particular employee that month. I still think it's great to train everybody at the organization overall and not just the folks that fail the initial phishing test. And potentially, if you have a large number of employees at your organization that are, sharing their credentials or clicking on links in those phishing emails, maybe it's time to have a lunch and learn for them. A 30-minute session where you can provide lunch and just give a great overview on something like we ran through today, but more related to phishing emails, what to avoid, what not to click on, and sure signs that it's something coming from a cyber criminal and not something from a legit organization.
That's a good answer. And then the second question that came in is, how often should you implement a security awareness training program?
Absolutely. And that's an awesome question as well. Security training should always be ongoing. I think a mistake that some companies make is, okay, they have a new employee coming on board. They want to train them for the first couple weeks. And then after that, training's done and over with. Training, I think, should happen on at least a monthly, if not a quarterly basis. Having a couple trainings going out to employees, again, just keeping them up to date on current threats and different things that may be changing in the market is an absolute benefit to not only your employees, but your organization overall.
Awesome. Okay, that is all the time that we do have for today. But again, thank you so much, Katie. This was super informational. And thank you everybody for joining us. If anybody has any other additional questions, feel free to reach out to marketing@verityit.com and we'll definitely get those answered for you. We hope everybody has a productive day.